All right. Well, welcome back to our Simple Healthy Life podcast, where our goal is to have real, insightful conversations with people we find interesting. And I think we should start adding people we find that are passionate about what they do.
Yeah, I agree.
We are lucky enough to have one of those people here today. His name is Michael Nash. He is currently running, what's your title? What's the title?
The Executive Director.
Executive Director of the Veterans Transition House. And this is in New Bedford. We are interested in you as the person. We're interested in what the Veterans Transition House does, and we're kind of interested in how you're helping your group, your society, your people. But first, let's start. Introduce yourself any way you want, and tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Okay. I'm Michael Nash. I'm originally from Appomattox, Virginia, and I was going to college for automotive and diesel college in Virginia Beach, and that was in 2000 to 2002, and September 11th happened while I was going to college, and it changed my career. I decided to join the military and give back. I joined the United States Army, and I served for 23 years. I was deployed to Afghanistan, and then I went to Iraq twice, and I've been to other non-combat places like Guam. I served in Guam on a rotation, and I served in Romania for a little bit. And then I found my way here to Massachusetts, and I was looking for my encore career, something I was truly passionate about, and I was lucky enough that there was an opening at Veterans Transition House, and that's where I am today.
So you just did 23 years in one sentence. Nice work. But tell me a little bit about the beginning. I mean, I don't know anything about being 21, 22, and all of a sudden finding myself in a foreign country.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like your values kind of drive you. If you decided to step up and make a transition from a college kid to a soldier, can we talk a little bit about that first?
Yeah. I was going to college. I grew up building cabinets with my dad, and that was kind of monotonous. You know, it was the same thing, doing the same thing day in, day out, but it was basically the same thing. New set of cabinets, doing the same things. So I wanted to work on cars, and I went to college for that, automotive and diesel, and I had an interview with each. But September 11th happened while I was there, and I felt a call to serve my country. And my grandmother's brother had died in World War II, and no one in my immediate family had served since then. So I felt like I needed to serve. Talked to my mom. She wasn't very excited about the idea. So I told her, I want to do this. So she said, if you can bring the recruiter from Virginia Beach to Appomattox, which was 3.5 hours, and he can talk to me, then you can do whatever you want. But I asked that you do that out of respect. So I did. I asked a recruiter. I said, this is wild. She doesn't want to talk to a local recruiter. She wants to talk to you. So he drove all the way. He followed me in my car all the way to my home, sat down in my living room, talked to my parents, and then I enlisted in they called it the delayed entry program. So you enlist in the military, and you get about 2 to 3 months so I could finish my college out. So I did that, and then I went right to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Wow. Cool.
Wow, incredible. Well, they don't normally do that. They don't normally travel that far.
No, they don't.
How did you do this? How did you convince them of this?
Yeah, I told them, I said, listen, I'm telling you, I'm giving you the end. Like, if you want me to sign, I will sign. It doesn't matter what happens with this meeting, but my mom asked me to do this out of respect for her, so I'm going to do it. But I will tell you, no matter what happens in my living room, I will sign to join the military. I'll give you that, my word, but I'm just asking that you do this because that's what she asked me to do. And, that's exactly what led me there. And I didn't know if I was going to stay the whole time, but it ended up being, I was 23 years, and I decided, okay, now it's time to hang up my hat.
What a career. What a move. Did your mom end up giving her blessing? Or?
Not really. No, she told me to be safe. But then, at basic training graduation, she was very proud of me and had nothing but nice things to say. But, yeah, she was always worried every time I was deployed. And, just let me know that you're doing okay. And the bad thing about it is when you're deployed, when there's an incident, when you take fire, when there's an explosion or anything, they lock communications down for operational security. You can't do it. They call it a comms blackout. So you can't call home and say, I'm okay. So people immediately worry and immediately go into it. So you got to wait until anything that's needed to been taken care of has been taken care of. If anyone needs to be notified about something, you know, if there was an unfortunate passing or something like that, they notify the family first so they don't hear it from other people.
Sure. So did you end up rising through the ranks into leadership through the military?
Yeah, I did. So I started as a PFC because of the college that I had, Private First Class, which is the E3 in the Army. And I went through my first deployment. I was a specialist. That was in Afghanistan, so I was a driver. That's an E4. I was a combat patrol driver in Kandahar. That was our main base. We were at Kandahar Airfield, but we went all over Afghanistan. We went up to it was called Spin Bulldog. That was the Pakistan border. We did some missions out there. We did a lot of things. But the main thing that we did on that one that was, you know, I guess significant was securing the first elections in Afghanistan. It was a democratic election, so we helped transport the ballots and make sure that all that was done. And you know, the Afghani people were very excited. They would hold up their finger to show that they voted, you know, because they get the paint on their finger when they vote. So it was really significant and something that stuck with me on that deployment. Then my second deployment, these were really quick. So I went to Afghanistan in 2004, 2005, went back to Hawaii. I was stationed out of Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. So went back to Hawaii, and I guess I should circle back. I met and married my wife not long after I got to Hawaii, and my son was born a week before I went on my first deployment. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was born on April 1st, and I was in country April 17th. That's when I was on the plane going over there. So I left, and then when I came back home, get reacquainted, but then in a year later, so that was 04, 05, 06, 07, we went to Kirkuk, Iraq. That was my second deployment. First deployment was a year long. Came back home, you get to meet everybody again, like meet your son,
Sure.
Who's new. And then I went back to Iraq, and that deployment, I was in a detention facility, so kind of like a 2-week prison for anybody that gets arrested or anything, you know, Iraqi people. And I did that for 15 months. Then I went back to Hawaii again. And then my wife became pregnant somehow, and then and I left for my third deployment in 08 to 09. So went back to Iraq. We went back to Kirkuk first, so it was like a homecoming, and then we moved shortly after, around 2 to 3 months after we got there. We moved to Tuz, Iraq, which is a remote place. It was just our battalion there, and we had some African soldiers that were guarding the perimeter. They were our perimeter security, but did that for a little bit over a year. And those are my 3 main deployments. And then my daughter was born halfway through that last deployment, but my wife held on to babies, so she always had to get induced. So I scheduled, you get 2 weeks when you deploy, called it R&R, rest and recuperation. You can go back home. So I left a week before that they were going to induce her, and I arrived. They induced her. My daughter was born. I got to see her for a week, and then I went back. So very fortunate to see both my kids born in the military. It doesn't happen to everybody like that.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. What an adventure. What
Yeah.
an adventure. Jeez. And so, what were some of the like trials and tribulations of all that? So you're going back and forth. Obviously, like the family stuff is really hard. I can only imagine. What kind of things stood out to you in terms of like what did you need to overcome?
Yeah, trust, right? So I was newly married on my first deployment. I hadn't been married very long at all. We have a new kid. I left a week after, so my wife is navigating all of this. Luckily, she went home with her family, but you go to the phone tent. There was a phone tent, so you go to the MWR tent, which was a soft tent, but then you had to wait in line because there's soldiers waiting to use the 5 or 6 phones that we had at the time. You have to wait in line. Then you have to call a place that is a transfer station. So first obstacle is, where do I call? So I had to call Redstone Arsenal, I think. It was some random place. And then I would tell them who I was trying to get to. They would transfer me to my wife. So then if you miss that window, then you got to go through and call the Arsenal again and get them to transfer you again. And then if your wife doesn't pick up, you're like, what's going on? What's happening right now? Because, you know, in the actual phone tent that you pay for is like a payphone thing. You hear somebody they're next to you and they're saying, I can't believe you did this to me after 20 years of marriage, and I'm sitting here and my wife just didn't answer the phone, and I just got married, 4 months ago, and I'm like, what is going on? So you have all these horrible thoughts about what could be happening on the other end. So you have to have trust with your spouse. That's a big one. And then when you come home from deployment, you're back home for about a year, but there's a lot of things that you have to do militarily. So you have to go and get your medical stuff done, get your dental done. You got to go to any military schools that you have to go to, because a year's a long time. So if you don't go to these schools, you don't do these trainings, you can't progress. So you cannot, progress to the next rank. There's some things that are waived, but that's the thing. So, even when I'm back, I would have to go. There were times I had to go to Warrior Leader Course, which was for, becoming a leader, a sergeant for E5. And then I had to go to ALC, BNOC, Basic Non-Commissioned Officer Course, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 was local. Phase 2 was at Fort Leonard Wood. So that was about 2 months there. So there's a lot of training that you do, and then you got to train up for the next deployment too. So even when you're home, you're doing it. But I'm just telling you how it was. I'm not complaining. That's what I signed up for. Yeah. And my wife knew when she married me, that's what she signed up for too. So I'm just telling you that's how it is. But that's what you have to do. You just have to have trust in your family, and then they have to be understanding. And then when you're home, you have to try to be home. You have to unplug from where you were, and then, turn all that off, and then not bring work home with you. So I try to do a good job of that. There's still things where I'll be talking with someone to this day, and I'll share something. It's like, wow, you never told me that. Well, I didn't want to tell you that because you might worry, and also, I'm going to have to go back. So,
wow,
yeah.
So you learned at a young age, how to make tough decisions pretty consistently, and how to trust. And I just keep trying to think about our audience and thinking about the fact that when you had to make this phone call from Afghanistan, it wasn't you just call back. You don't just pick up the phone again and just be like, she didn't answer, I'll try her again in 15 minutes. That's just not how how that goes.
Yeah, you have a window. I think it was 15 or 20 minutes normally. And then you got to go back through the line and start over again. But like I said, at one point they did get these AT&T payphone, basically a bunch of payphones that are in a box, and you go in there, but then you're right next to someone who's going through God knows what next, and you get to know this person's story, and you don't want to look at them, so you're turning away from them because they're going through a hard time in their life. Wow. It's a little wild, but yeah, that's what we did. And my wife knew. I told her, I try to call between these times, so please try to not do things around those times. So that was another thing too, expectations. I would let her know these are the times I'm going to try to call. I'll always call if I can, but she kind of learned the window and usually would, schedule things outside of the window that I would normally call. So that was helpful.
One of the things that I hear often from veterans is this transition back home, and I think that's the work that you're into now. But at one point, you did 23 years in, so at one point in your life, you had done more military than anything else in your life. So you were, your whole life was military up until the 23rd year, I suppose. Tell us a little bit about your transition. Yeah, you went back and started with the Veterans House, but talk to us about this.
Yeah, it's a huge transition.
Yeah.
You're in the military. As you're going through, after 23 years, you have a little bit of clout. You have a little bit of, respect from everybody that you're working with. And I was one of one at my last duty station. I was the only E8 Master Sergeant MP on the installation. All the other MPs were, there was, I think, 2 sergeants first class, 2 E7s, and the rest were below that. So I was the head MP on the installation. I was in charge of all emergency operations from the non-commissioned officer side. I had an officer counterpart, but yeah, I was kind of a big deal in the Army, right? I was respected. I had a lot of pull, and then you transition out, and now you're just some guy, right? You're just a dude. There's no more rank, and you were Nash. First Sergeant Nash was my name. Because I was first sergeant at a time. It's the same pay grade, just different jobs. But you're used to that. And now It's like, hey, this is Mike. He was in the military for a long time, and a lot of people didn't understand my military service. But I was fortunate in the fact that the last 3 years, I was in an organization, Directorate of Emergency Services, for all emergency operations. So it was a lot of civilian personnel, GS employees, government service employees that were working for us. So it was mostly civilian driven. So I changed my tactics a little bit. But you have to eliminate all the jargon. You have to eliminate all the acronyms that you're throwing around. You have to take out Army speak, which is a lot brash a lot of the times, and it would not fly. You would get fired if you had the conversations that you have in the water cooler in the military. In a civilian job, it would be wild. So that was the big thing, transitioning over to civilian life. And then you talk to people, and I got interviewed by one person for housing at UMass Dartmouth, and it was a headhunter that she referred people to the school. First interview went well. The second one, she called me and she said, I just want to be honest with you. You haven't worked in a collegiate setting. Although you have this experience, the college probably won't understand that. So I'm not going to pass you forward. So even though you have all this experience, it's limited to the military, and people don't think that it can transition over, or they don't want to take a shot because you haven't been in that world. So you're starting over. You have a lot of experience. I had an MBA when I left the military. So I had a college degree and all that stuff, but then it's finding a place that will, take a chance. And most people, when they hire veterans, they understand we're very mission driven. We're about the organization. We'll sacrifice. We'll work overtime. We'll come in on weekends. It's not a question. But unless they've hired one, they don't really know.
Well, you just summed up something I never thought about when you talk about veterans transitioning. That's wild to me. You give your life to something that has an end date, and then, I never really thought about it that way. But thank you for summing it up so well. That's impactful for me.
Yeah, you're starting over. And you were kind of a big deal when you got out. You people knew who you were. You had a reputation.
Sure.
And now you're starting all over. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. That the loss of hierarchy and purpose in a lot of ways, and we've talked about that in other contexts, on this podcast, the loss of purpose, similar to the Olympian who trains their whole life, takes gold in the Olympics, and then it's kind of well, now I'm too old to go back, and however many years, that's a loss. That's a strong loss of purpose. And same thing with the military. It makes sense, right? You put in time, you serve. Everything about it makes sense. You get to the higher up, you get respected, and then you leave, and it's just chaos. It's everywhere. There is no hierarchy out here. There is no camaraderie. There is, but not in the same way. It's one of the things that veterans who do jiu-jitsu kind of enjoy about jiu-jitsu is that there is rank, that there is respect to the higher ranks, and you put in your time, you put in your service, say, and you earn that. And that's what they find. That's what they report to me. At least that's what
that makes good sense to me.
Yeah. I did that in the military too. I was a wrestler in high school, and on my first deployment, I found a guy that did jiu-jitsu. So whenever I wasn't on mission and I had the time, I would go to the gym and we would roll around and do jiu-jitsu.
Awesome.
But you just have to make the time for it.
Yeah.
So now you're out. You've transitioned out. You got to. Well, first of all, I want to hear. How did you end up in North Pole, Alaska? Because so. For those of you who don't know, I got the phone call to meet Mike, and his phone said Alaska. You don't have a lot of conversations with people in Alaska, so I was very interested. And he said, actually, it's the North Pole. So just tell me how you ended up in North Pole, Alaska.
Yeah, it was my last duty station was Fort Wainwright, Alaska. So. Very quickly, I started in Hawaii. I was there for 7.5 years. I went to Missouri for 3, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I taught at the schoolhouse. Then I went to Alaska for 3, Fort Wainwright also. And then when I left Alaska, I went to Germany for 3 years. And then when I was in Germany, I saw a job opening in Alaska, Fort Wainwright again. So I applied for it, and I reached out to everybody I needed to. I did the paperwork. I did all the things, and I got reassigned there. So that was my last duty station. I was there for 7.5 years. I did what they call an in-place consecutive overseas tour because I was at the end of my career. So I asked to be extended for 3 more years. So because most tours, Alaska is considered overseas, even though it's part of the continental United States. If you go through Canada, it's Oconus. Outside the continental United States. So that's a 3-year tour. So I requested to stay there, and I did. So that's how I ended up staying there for 7 years and some change.
Wow. So then what brought you to Massachusetts?
My son, he was going to UMass Dartmouth, so we applied. He was doing animation and game arts. So we were looking at colleges, and any college that was, free or low cost to apply. We applied for animation specifically. He got a lot of different offers from colleges, but there were 3 that focused on art here in Massachusetts. Mass Art, that's in Boston. Endicott, which is in Northern Mass, and then UMass Dartmouth. And we did it in that order. We went to Mass Art. They had a admitted students day. They had Endicott admitted students day, and then UMass Dartmouth. And he just loved it. So he came here, and during his second year, he was an RA. As sophomore year, he was a resident advisor, and he had a medical issue. And, I was in Hawaii, my wife was in Alaska, and he was here, and he had a medical thing that we had to come here for. And so I dropped what I was doing in Hawaii. My leadership in the Army, I was active duty at the time, was lenient enough to let me take leave and come here and take care of my son. Got him on a plane, got him back to Alaska, got all that straightened out, and then he needed some aftercare. So we said, I'm leaving the military. Let's go take care of my son, let him finish out college. So that's what brought us here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, lucky us.
And he graduates in 2 months. So
no way.
Yeah, straight A's. It worked out well. So it was definitely worth it for sure.
And it was just his birthday, right? Because we're doing this podcast on April 7th, right?
Yeah, his birthday was April 1st, April Fool's Day. Thank you.
Very cool. All right. Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
That's right. Great. So then, talk to us a little bit about what you're doing now and the importance of that, because we touched a little bit on like the difficulty of the transition, but I imagine that's where a lot of things fall apart. If I were to guess, but I don't know. But share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, coming in as executive director for Veterans Transition House, it was great because we're serving veterans. We're helping homeless veterans, giving them a home. So I just looked at it and through the interview process, they asked me about my leadership style and what things I had to bring to the table. And in the military, obviously, I understand the veteran population. I'm now a veteran too. These guys were, in the military. They served. So I understand. I share that with them. I understand the population. And in the military, you work with all walks of life, rich, poor, inner city, country, from other countries. You have all these people serve in the military. So you get to learn people and you understand, what drives people. What drives one person is not going to drive a different person. Some people are, they're only motivated by, money. Some people are just motivated if you're going to punish them. They cherish their free time. Some people are big on family. You have to understand what drives that person so you can talk to them in such a way to try to get what you need from them and, just to understand what they're doing. And that's kind of what I brought. I call myself a servant leader. So I like to, get down and meet them where they are and understand their job, sit with them whenever I can, because I'm coming in new to the organization. Who am I to think that I understand the job that these people have been doing for 18 years? So they're the experts in what they do. I'm just here to try to drive the train in the right direction, look for efficiencies, and bring fresh new ideas, because the guy that had been there before me is super respected in the community, but he'd been there for 18 years. So he had done a lot for the organization, took them from a rectory to now they have 8 different properties serving veterans. So I was just trying to look to see where we could take the organization, and we're doing some of that now. And, it's a great mission. I try to capture it because we have we have an outreach guy. He's in homeless encampments. He's meeting veterans where they are, homeless veterans where they are. And then we have another person at the end of the rope where they're getting placed into apartments. They're delivering this brand new furniture. So I'm trying to capture the stories from the beginning to the end and the middle and share it with the organization. I brought what we call a sit rep from the military. I didn't invent it. I stole it. It's a situation report. It's just letting the people know in the VTH, because we have 25 to 23 people. Right now we're at 23, but we have some hiring actions going on. And I let them know what's going on. Because the guy that's in the homeless encampments, it's kind of sad to be there if the people don't want help, right? So he can see the end state. He's like, oh, well, these 3 people just got placed in new apartments. That's great news. And then the person at the end, that's placing people in apartments, our outreach guy, Lee, he reached 3 new veterans that just came in this week. So everybody gets a full picture of what's going on. And by getting that from them, it helps inform me, and I understand what challenges we're facing and where we need to focus some effort, and that's what we're trying to do right now.
I like that. Every part of the organization has a good view of it, as opposed to just like the encampment dude just kind of only knowing what's happening there versus now they know exactly what's happening and can share the message. So what are the things that are actually done for, what are the number of things that you've, some examples, I guess, of how you help?
Okay, so we take, if there's a homeless veteran that needs a place to stay, wants to get stabilized, they can come move in with us the same day, as long as we have a bed.
Wow.
I've seen it happen. We had a guy, my outreach guy, who was Pedro Ramos, now it's Leighton Ogaldez. He was out and was talking to a veteran service officer, and they said, hey, we heard about this new veteran that's living in a park, basically. He was living in his car, so he went and talked to him. Hey, here's my car. This is what we do. If you're looking for a place to stay, you don't want to stay in your car, you can come with us. We can help get you whatever you need. And he did. He showed up, and he was housed within an hour. He was in our house, had a bed, we give them 2 meals a day, freshly cooked, lunch and dinner, and we give them food to make for themselves for breakfast. And you come in, now you have a place to stay. You don't have to worry about what's going on outside of your car. You don't have to worry about staying warm. You're inside of a house. You have other veterans. You automatically you're connected to veterans that understand your struggle. Even if you were different services, we all served, right? So you can talk the same language. And now you're starting to get a sense of community, and you have people that are looking out for you. And we can take people, we get people that don't have their birth certificate, don't have their social security card, they don't have a phone. So there's no way that they can be contacted. And they may not have clothes that they need. Well, we have a guy that helps them with their resume. He can help them go, and we drive them to interviews. We have treatment for people that come in with addiction. They go to groups together. And we have groups throughout the week, and then we meet every single week on Tuesday. We meet and go through each veteran, where they are in the process, what do we have to do for them, where they're at with housing, getting them their apartments. And they can live with us for up to 2 years if they need to. But most of our veterans, the average is around 7 months, a 7-month stay. And we take pride in that. We're not trying to hold them back. We're getting them what they need and moving them to the next level. So
awesome.
It's super, super rewarding work. And you asked about the eaches. We just had an amputee that was with us, and he was placed into a home. And he came to us. He was disconnected from his family. Most of his family were in West Virginia, but he has a brother that was here. He ended up here. He didn't have a job, and he didn't have a place to stay. So he's with us. We just housed him. He got into his new apartment. Part of him staying with us is he got stabilized. He was able to stave off his addiction. And he told me on Thanksgiving, hey, my brother just invited me for Thanksgiving dinner. Wow. That's never happened. And I said, that's great. And he said, yeah, I don't know how it's going to go. I said, listen, he invited you. So that's a huge step. Sure. So he already put trust in you. And I think it's because of the good work that you're doing here. You're doing the right things. You're focused on your sobriety and moving forward with your life. And he was there on move-in day, helped him carry things. Because as I said, he's an amputee. So we tried to get him a ground floor apartment, but he does. I think he has 3 stairs that he has to navigate. So his brother helped him carry the groceries up the stairs, those 3 stairs, because, it kind of hurts when you put weight on that. So, and we're connected to him. He came and he let me know, hey, our outreach lady that he was working with, her name is Lisa. He said, Lisa gave me hope. I just want to say that thank you for everything she does. I can't thank her enough. And he's super excited. He has his own place now. He's got a fresh start. And they don't move into an empty home. Part of that is we have a furniture package that we set up. They get a new bed, new sheets, new pots, new pans, all those things. They get started, and it gets delivered and set up for them. And the boxes are gone, because we know that's a thing here in Massachusetts. What am I going to do with all this trash? I don't have enough dumpsters for all this cardboard. Well, guess what? They take it away, and they're set up fresh, and they're good to go. And we keep checking on them. Our outreach guy, while he's in encampments, he also goes and he touches back with veterans that we've placed. And they know that they can stop by our outreach center at any time just to talk or to get more services if they need.
Yeah. Incredible.
Amazing being in a position where you can give people hope.
Yeah.
Right, and not just give them hope, but give them hope in something tangible. Like be able to take them from where they are, meet them where they're at, like you said, and bring them to a place where they can start, moving forward.
Yeah.
You can hear it in your voice how passionate you are about it.
Yeah, I get jazzed. I'm telling you, I could talk about it all day. And there's people. I don't want to out them. They share their own story, right? But we have people that are serving on our staff that have been homeless. We have veterans. We have people on our staff that went through our specific program, and now they're working for us. So they truly understand, and no one looks down on any of these veterans for being homeless, because it doesn't take a lot. If you don't have a support network, we just placed a veteran. He was married. He had a home. And he was taking care of his mother. His mother passed away. Right after his mother passed away, his wife divorced him. And then he couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments because of the divorce and all the things. And he had spent a lot of money taking care of his mother. Well, he had nowhere to go. Now he's homeless. He lost his house. Well, he's looking around. A friend reached out, like, hey, you can come stay with me. He's been staying with his friend. And then his friend said, hey, man, you've been here for a long time. Like, I can't have you, because it's putting a strain on his friend's relationship. Well, guess what? Now he's living with us, and he's got a sense of purpose. But this guy, he was functioning well, and there were a series of unfortunate events that happened. He lost his mom. He lost his wife, and he didn't have much to go back to. And that's how it ended. It's not a bunch of bad decisions all the time. That could happen, right? That is that's some people's story, but it's not everyone's story. And it doesn't take a lot. You get out of the military, we talked about it. Now you're disconnected. You don't have that pay anymore. And if you can't get a job, now what am I going to do? You still got bills like you're active duty, but you're not getting that pay like you're active duty. So it can catch up with you pretty quickly. And we're there to catch them and to meet them where they are. And we have a veteran with us right now. He just shared with us that he paid off $17,000 while he's been staying with us. He's working on his credit. So he's trying to get everything stable for when he does transition.
Wow. Before we go any further, sorry to cut you off. So we are going to put the information on the screen, but I want to hear you say how they can get a hold of this organization. If you could give us that so that anybody that's just listening and not watching, they can hear it. So can you tell us how to get a hold of this organization?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's vetshouse.org, VETSHOUSE.org. And also our location in New Bedford is 1297 Purchase Street in New Bedford, Massachusetts, 02740. And the phone number is 508-992-5313. If you call, you can put in a request on the website if you want to request support that way, or you can just call us. And if someone doesn't answer, it does get forwarded. But if we're on the line with someone else, just leave a message and we'll get back with you. And we will screen you. And if you're a veteran and you don't have a house, we will most likely house you. We don't house sex offenders, and we don't house arsonists. Just for
obvious reasons.
Yeah. Other things, if you have other criminal charges, we look at them by the aegis. But those are the two that we don't currently house at this time. But if there's something else that's going on, we'll talk about it and we'll try to make it work.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry to take that caveat, but I feel like I want to make sure. Now seemed like a good time to make sure people understand that this is something that you can do, and right now, pick up the phone or reach out via email. So I'm glad to hear that that's happening right now.
Do you do I suppose if a family member has a concern about their family member, do you do stuff like that as well?
Yes, yeah. Veterans or veterans' families, they can come in, and we have support. A big one that most people don't think of is healthcare navigation.
Yeah.
So when a veteran is, once they're over 60, they have to change their TRICARE and they have to get enrolled in other things. And we have a healthcare navigator that's with us, and she's helped people get their records of service. We just had that happen. There's so many stories, right? Sorry, there's so many stories, but we just had that happen. The family member, they knew that their father served in the military, but the veterans organization in New Bedford didn't have a record of it. The automated system that we have to screen people didn't have a record of his service. There was no record of his service. They didn't have a DD-214. That's what you get when you leave the military. They didn't have it. Well, they reached out to our healthcare navigator. She gave them a bunch of tools, but she also worked on getting that DD-214. This guy is over 60, and he's been living, well, actually, he's over 80. But he's been living, and he doesn't have his DD-214, so he didn't have those veteran benefits because he didn't have proof of service. She got that for him.
Oh, wow.
The family didn't have it. The places in town didn't have it. And now they have a record of his service, so that gives him, burial benefits. It gives him health care benefits. All those things just by that one little piece of paper. Wow. And we have people, basically, if we don't do it, we have the connections to get you the help that you need for anything veteran related.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's not just like people who are like super down in the dumps, just like in a terrible spot. It's for all like little challenges.
Yeah, if you're a veteran, you're doing well. Stop by. We love to hear that too. We'd love to talk to you. We have grants for people that are struggling financially that have their own place. You don't have to be homeless to come get service from us. You just have to be a veteran, and we can talk to you. We have coffee socials. I think it's it's the first Tuesday of every month because we just had it. We have it right next door in our cafeteria. And we have pastries and we have coffee. So if you just want to get a coffee and talk crap with veterans, come on. And that's what we do. The DAV is right next door. The disabled veterans, they come over and they can help you with your benefits, your disability benefits if you haven't done that. And we help people with everything. We help veterans with everything, I guess I should specify.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow. So thank you so much for sharing that tonight. I do have my own curiosities. Want to pick your brain. Anyone who's in the industry of seeing change, MJ and I are super fascinated with change and how change happens. And I've said it many times, but maybe the 5 most dangerous words in succession are, that's just who I am, right? And so you see so much change. And if we can bring it to like a more universal level so that whether veterans or people who are just listening to the podcast just for, interesting, and just to find it interesting, what goes into change? What do people struggle with? How does change occur? Because it's definitely not just like, okay, here's some money. Okay, here's a place to live. Although that's like obviously logistically very, very helpful. I imagine you have good insight on how people can actually truly change and why they get into the spots of needing change.
Yeah. So change is difficult, right? Any change is difficult. When you get a new boss or you go to a new organization, you're like, what's going to happen now? This is the unknown. It's uncomfortable, as it should be, right? It's all new. You don't know what's going on. You got to start over. You're like, I was really comfortable. I knew my boss was angry from 9 to 10, and I just had to wait it out till 11. Once we got him fed, he's good to go, right? You knew that about your boss. You don't know who this new guy is. Maybe he's a morning person. He comes in, but you don't want to see him at 2 o'clock. He's ready to go home. He's been burnt out. He went hard, and now he's ready, You got to learn all that. And then for change for veterans or for people, you can't want it more than they want it themselves, So they have to want it. We have veterans that come with us They come to us and they're struggling with mental health things. We go and we get them in a facility. We get them to the place that can give them help, but they don't want to take the medication. So now they're not stabilized and they can't function, and that's super frustrating, right? And it's disheartening. You're like, they were where they needed to be, right, and they were going to get them the help, but they discharged them, and now they're out there, and who knows what's going to happen. And we stay plugged into the veteran, and we keep checking on them to see if they ever want that help, but they have to want it as well, right? And also, if they are not successful, they can come back. Sure. We've had that happen because we've seen the other side. We have one of our best success stories. He was with us way before my time, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not taking any credit for this, but he was with us 3 times. He went through 3 iterations of the program, and his thing was alcohol. He was a horrible drunk, super nice, but when he was drinking, this is what he told me, right? I didn't know him back then, but he said I was a horrible drunk. I was very angry. I wasn't myself. And now he's been sober for 12 years. He stops by the VTH every week to connect with the veterans. It reminds him of how far he's come, and he turned his life around. So if we have a veteran that moves into a house and they fail, we don't judge them. We've seen it happen before. If we have hope when we take them back because we've seen it happen. We know that sometimes it takes a few iterations to just understand the changes that you have to make. You know, you may leave the program and you're good for 2 or 3 months, and then you connect with an old friend who was in addiction with you, and nobody wants to be in addiction alone. They don't want that sober person messing up their high, right? So they're like, hey, come on, you do it too. And then they fall back into those old habits. Well, now they've learned that part. Maybe they need to get new friends. Maybe they need to stay away, or just meet them in public. Don't hang out where they hang out. Those things. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but change is difficult. It's hard, and you can change. That's the biggest thing. You have to have that hope for yourself, and once you see it, that's the great thing. Those people who come back, they get to see success stories. They're walking success stories. They're like, oh wow, you were in this program, and now I see that you're doing well, so I can do it too. You don't believe it if you don't see it. That's the hard thing. But once you see people that were with you and now they're successful, you're like, wow, yeah, I could do that too.
You know what you said that got me thinking, and we think about change and we think about these really difficult changes, right? Defeating alcoholism or drugs or something, but isn't it so true that this 3rd, 4th, 5th iteration of your attempt at change can be the one that sticks, right? Like, I'm going to get on a diet. Well, didn't work. Now I'm going to get on a diet. Well, didn't work again. I'm going to get on a diet. Well, it didn't work. You can either choose to be the person that's like, I'm just never going to be able to do it, or the 5th time, all of a sudden something clicks. You want it more. It's something happened in your life where now you just, or at the gym or whatever habit you want to produce. And if you have people by your side that won't give up on you, that will just continue to allow you to come back. Okay, try again. All right, try again. It'd be like if the gym shut the door the first time you didn't come back on, no, can't come back to the gym. Sorry, this is, no, it's always open. Just try again. Just try again. And that just clicked with me for some reason. We divide these 2 big things when they're really the same topic. Just one seems to be harder than the others, of course.
Yeah.
But overall, I got to say, there's nothing I really like more than hearing a leader talk about people, and that's what I'm taking away from this. Your passion for the organization and what you're doing, you're so passionate about it, it doesn't even exceed your passion for people. You can tell. These individual stories seem to be what's driving you to make it better, to add these different opportunities for people. So it's commendable, and I'm grateful that we got to cross paths.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise. Yeah, we have a great team there, and they truly love what they're doing, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it for sure.
Yeah, thank you. We always are grateful to have a platform to share, and this was incredibly. And I say it every time we interview, but I feel like I'm the luckiest person to sit here and just get to hear your story and get to hear what you're doing. So thank you for coming in today. Is there anything else any final remarks or anything you want to share?
I would just say, if you're a veteran looking for help, reach out to us. You don't know what you don't know. If you think you have it all covered, that's fine. Just share that with us. Maybe I can pick your brain, and I can help veterans with your story. But we love hearing from veterans. And if you know someone that needs help, reach out to us. We're always willing to help, and we'll meet them where they are. We have transportation, too. Like if you're a veteran and you come live with us and you get a job, well, guess what? We'll get you to your job. We have a thing that if you go through and you get hired with us, 2 weeks of your transportation is covered until you get your first paycheck. So that way they can get to and from their job. Awesome. And we take them to appointments when they need and all those things. So it's full wraparound services. We'll help you however you need to be helped. Just stop by.
Amazing.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I echo a lot of MJ's thoughts, and thank you for sharing. Thanks for sharing your passion. Thanks for your service, and yeah, thanks for coming on and chatting about this. This is great.
Thank you. You guys are worth it. I appreciate it.
Thanks. We're going to make sure to put all of the information on how to find the Veterans House in the show notes. We'll probably, I think we can have God put them on the screen at some point. And if you just say the phone number and email address one more time for us, or the website one more time.
Yeah, it's 508-992-5313, and it's vetshouse.org, VETSHOUSE.org.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you all the next time.